Tonight we bring you a surprising response from a survivor of clergy sex abuse. James Grain went public this summer after he described nearly 2 decades of abuse by Archbishop Theodore McCarrick.
He's a sad, weak man who has lost his faith in Jesus Christ. I pray for him every day. He needs to be removed from the priesthood. He needs to be taken to a place where he can see the damage that he has done.
Grain revealed his full name to the public for the very first time earlier this week. He sat down with our Wyatt Goolsby. Be sure to tune in on Monday to EWTN News Nightly for our one-on-one. James tells us he thinks the U.S. bishops and their handling of the sex abuse crisis and reflects on all of that. Now, Dr. Matthew Bunson, senior editor for the National Catholic Register, as well as senior contributor to EWTN, thanks for being with us. We just heard that very, very powerful testimony from James Grain. He says that Archbishop Theodore McCarrick should be removed from the priesthood. Is that going to happen?
Well, that's the question now. The case, the scandal of Theodore McCarrick rests in so many ways at the very dark heart of the current crisis we're looking at, because there are so many questions attached to it. We don't know exactly where the process is canonically in dealing with him. The investigators have come from Rome. We know that they have visited a couple of the dioceses or archdioceses that he's related to, places like Newark. We know that a trial is likely at some point in the future, but we don't know the results of that. And coming out of the USCCB meeting this week in Baltimore, the failure even to pass a symbolic measure encouraging the Holy See to release a documentation relating to this case has only exasperated the disappointment and even the anger of a lot of Catholics and many of the victims.
Why, you were part of that, you watched the debate as it was happening on the floor of the General Assembly in Baltimore. Why did they shoot that down? It was just a symbolic gesture, as you mentioned.
That whole debate indicates just how divided this conference is in many ways on how to proceed, not just with the McCarrick scandal, but also with holding bishops accountable. How are they going to be held responsible for the failures of other bishops? We had 2 proposals, for example. One was to outsource, basically, to create a third-party reporting system. The other was to kind of keep the structure the way it is right now through the metropolitan bishops, in other words, the archbishops of a region. Both of those are hotly contested. Both of those are major questions, canonically, even theologically. And that's one of the reasons why Rome itself declined or asked the bishops not to vote on these different proposals right now. All eyes are turning to February, when Pope Francis is bringing the heads of Episcopal conferences from around the world. Cardinal Daniel DiNardo, the president of the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, will be there. And he has to be representing the concerns, not just of the U.S. bishops, but all of the laity, priests, everyone in the Church in the United States, but above all, the victims, as we've just heard from James Grain.
And what exactly will be the message that Cardinal DiNardo did hear from the bishops? Did he hear from victims that spoke to them as well this week?
One of the things that he's taking with him is the genuine concern on the part of so many bishops that we have to solve this crisis. That means we have to solve the McCarrick scandal. We have to find a way of holding bishops accountable. But we also have to make sure that victims are held up uppermost in our minds as we try to deal with this crisis. So he's bringing not just those concerns, but also that anger, understandable as it is, of so many lay people who themselves want to see action, but who also want to be participants in the process of reform. And one of the questions that we ask is, what can lay people do? Well, part of it is we have to be holier ourselves, but we also have to encourage our bishops spiritually and to stand up and speak courageously. A number of bishops did at the Bishops' Conference meeting in Baltimore. I think especially of Archbishop Cordileone of San Francisco, or Bishop Strickland of Tyler, Texas. Give them the courage to speak up. Give them the courage to demand answers to so many questions that are still there about Archbishop McCarrick.
Well, Dr. Bunson, thank you so much for joining us and sharing those reflections as we look back at this monumental week for the United States Church. Thank you very much.
Let's keep praying.
Thank you.